Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, what the hell was that last night?
And coming into camp as QB1 hits different, and it also hits different if you got an extra target.
And last but not least, and for the culture, these young cats just don't get it, T. That's all coming up next right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
ATL Day Ones is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up in 10 minutes, I'll tell you exactly what Desmond Ridder should expect in 2023. But first, T, we have to talk about last night. The Braves get that L, a big L, 16-13 against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who have been absolutely struggling hitting the ball, and they just absolutely thrashed the Braves last night. But I think the only positive that I can take from last night, T, I really feel like we already know that Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, they check out the show, right? We already know they be watching us and checking us out and see what's going on, what ATL Day One is talking about. But I think it's starting to.
Yeah, it was a really, really good game for Austin Riley. Excited to see what he was able to do. Something that I believe since stats were taken like 1920, it's something crazy that he's done, like 7+ RBI. Like nobody has done that. And it may have been the first time that a third baseman has done it for the Braves, right? So
Right.
Looking at it from a historical perspective, wow, lights out. And of course, 2 home runs. But for him to be able to see the ball the way he did, for him to be able to hit with power, and as he said post-game, to just go out there and stop overthinking it and having fun, that's what we talked about. That's what we said we needed to see from Austin Riley when we said that he needed to be the second half MVP, so to speak, for the Braves. So yeah, arguably that, and of course the signing of Travis d'Arnaud pregame, those were probably the 2 highlights and the only highlights for the Braves Tuesday, because yeah, what we saw out of Bryce Elder and even that all-star infield was pretty scary last night.
Yeah, like just to start with Bryce Elder, I think that this is some of the things, and John Chucker even talking about on his show on Hitting Hard with John Chucker. Make sure you guys check him out as well. He talked about how his concerns are starting to be raised, and I get it. You know, when I started digging into the numbers myself, I started to look at it. I was like, okay, last 2 starts, right? Here we go, T. 14 runs given up, 12 earned, and he's gone 6 innings combined in his last 2 starts. Before the All-Star break, going into the All-Star break, T, this dude was Mr. 6 because he was guaranteed to go at least 6 innings in each start that he and coming into the All-Star break. And then, of course, we know he was leading the National League in ERA, and at some point, the entire league, from time to time. So I just think that when you have a guy like this who we've been able to count on, just go out there, give us 6 innings, and and go to that bullpen 7, 8, 9, and how it's supposed to be, like the perfect, like it's like essentially like today's perfect game. And we just haven't been getting that in these last couple of starts. And when you think about all of those things that he's been going through, you're starting to wonder, like, okay, like what's the issue? Is this guy, was it just a blip in the screen, him being an all-star? Or is this dude trying to fall off? I don't know, T. I'm kind
Or,
of
God
leaning
forbid,
towards the latter.
or God forbid, in the next day or two, we find out yet another Brave pitching staff member is going to the IL. That's what is a little bit concerning for me. I actually hope that
That'll be
it's a mental
frightening.
thing. Yeah, because a mental reset, we could deal with that. Spencer Strider had a mental reset, and it's been pretty decent, pretty solid for him for the most part ever since. Pitchers have slumps, and I hope this is just one of those slumps. What I don't hope is that we have another notification from the Braves about another member of their pitching staff going on IL. That's probably my biggest concern. And the other piece is within that time frame that you mentioned, with those 6 innings combined and 14 runs combined in the last 2 games, only 4 strikeouts. And just about every hit last night and even in the outing before, he was ahead in the count. 2 strikes. You've got to close that out. You've got to close that out. So I would like to think that because he was getting into the count, 2 strikes, he was ahead in the count before those players or batters on both the White Sox and the Diamondbacks got the hit. I hope that means it is just mental.
needs to go that starting pitcher route. I think that, this is something that Bryce Elder is going to have to figure out and I'm not in the space where I want to allow him to kind of like take some time off or anything like that, or let him sit and start. Yeah, right. Back down, sitting back down, none of that stuff. That's not where we are right now, especially in his career. But I think you have to let him work through it, and I think that's ultimately what is going to happen for Elder going forward. Now, one more real quick thing that I thought was really weird. What is up with this infield? You brought it up, mentioned a little bit before, T. Like Matt Olson out here, Tonkin not covering first base when the ball going to the first baseman. You learned that in Little League. I learned that in Little League, T. Like if the ball goes to the first baseman, pitcher's supposed to cover the mound. And it seemed like he was kind of hesitating. It just seemed it was a lot of weirdness on the right side of the infield last night.
Yeah, I'm sure that Ron Washington and company were just absolutely having a fit because there we were lauding his infield. We saw all four of them play together in the All-Star game, and it's like, man, this is the best infield in baseball. And not saying that it's not, but 3 errors in a game is a little bit scary and extremely uncharacteristic for the Braves. So, again, you hope that, and this is what we talked about briefly yesterday, whether or not we would see any wear and tear from the fact that 8 of their players didn't get the same rest as the rest of the team and the rest of the league pretty much. So you come back from that All-Star break and pretty much only have 4 days, whereas everyone else had about 7 or 8. And then, you get the Monday off to kind of reset from the White Sox series, if you will. But was that even enough? So I don't know. I just wonder if maybe a little bit of that is fatigue and maybe in a game or two, hopefully, that'll wear off and shake off. The one good thing, and I know we said that there were 2 good things, but I'm going to add a third, if you will. The one good thing is, despite it all, they're still, 8 games ahead of the Dodgers, still ahead of the Giants when you look at the National League overall, and dare I say to be petty, because last night you had 4 games rather, where both teams in 4 games had double-digit runs. The Mets were one of the teams that was on the winning side. The Dodgers were, and the Giants were, but the Braves are still ahead of every last one of them in the National League, still have the best record in baseball, even ahead of the Rays, yes. And finally, to end our segment on a petty note, just remember, the Mets may have won last night, but they're still 17 and a half games behind the Braves.
Absolutely. That's why y'all still stink. Yes, I can say that with a smile. And also I can say this with a smile too, real quick, T. How about this? Travis d'Arnaud signs an extension, gets the year, $8 million in 2024, with a club option in 2025. How about this?
Yeah, I was excited about that. He's one of the good guys. And I know it's not always about what is happening off the field, but hey, he gave 1%. He's going to give 1% of his salary to the Braves Foundation. And the joy that he had and the rest of the team had with this signing tells you how important he is to that clubhouse. Also, when Sean Murphy needs a break, you know that you still have a stellar guy behind the plate calling a game. And that is important when we think about Bryce Elder and Spencer Strider maybe struggling here and there, or when they bring up a guy, we know he's on the IL now, but when they bring up a guy like Kobe Allard or any of those younger pitchers from AAA, to have that second veteran to be able to keep everything calm on the mound, be able to call a good game, and really just be a part of an infield that we hope looks a little bit better in these next couple games as the Braves try to reset. That's the guy that you want. I really, really like not just the signing itself, but also the timing.
Absolutely. The timing is perfect, as Alex Anthopoulos always is. That reminds me of somebody else. I ain't going to say his name. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But first, I got to let you know that this episode of ATL Day Ones, people, is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, because it is the #1 sportsbook in America. Guess what? We just got to talking about the Braves. How about you can bet on the best sportsbook that do Major League Baseball? You can get up to 10 times your first bet amount and bonus bets up to $200. That's right, just $20, and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend on betting from everything from the money line to the over-unders. How about this? You can bet on who can hit the first home run. Austin Riley out here doing it. I'll put a little money on him because, hey, he listened to the show. He said, you know what? I hear ATL Day One's raising the standard. I need to step my game up. That's what I'm going to do. So, yeah, put some money on Austin Riley to hit that first home run. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON. FanDuel, it is the official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball.
So you talked about raising the standard, right? When it comes to FanDuel, well, they're also raising the standard in Flowery Branch with the rookies returning, reporting for training camp on Monday with QB1 in place. So no QB battle this go round. Desmond Ridder knows for sure that he is QB1. And Jarvis, he talked about how that hits different.
Yeah, for me, it's just I know what the season is going to be like. I know what it's going to hold, how long it is. And then obviously, you talk about the offense. I have, a whole year of offense under my belt. And so, I'm excited to get back in the building with the guys and get going and just, try to reach our ultimate goal.
How important is that, not just that it hits different for him, Jarvis, but as we await the arrival of the veterans, how important is it for this entire team and how it hits different for them to have him already in place?
I think for him, they have the correct mindset, right? That because we talk about how like what it is the team needs from him. Like they need him to be the leader. They need him to be able to command the room when he walks in the room. And just talking to different guys when we're out there for spring training, not spring training, for mini camps, there was some conversations, there was some consistency with all the guys were saying, right? Like Desmond Ridder got a really good handle on things. He knows how to, he's confident coming into the huddle. He understands what his role is because we even, we talked about this ad nauseum last year about how his verbiage was, hey, I'm competing for the starter. And then next thing you know, it just got crickets on that particular piece. So because we understand, he had to understand what his role is. Now that he understands that, hey, I'm the starter, I have to be able to establish relationships with all my guys and on the offensive side of the football, and I have to be able to build some rapport with the guys on defense as well, so they can see that where I am as far as from a confidence standpoint. Because at the end of the day, all three phases have to be on the same page, and somebody has to get them there. Arthur Smith is responsible for it initially, right, during the week. But when they're out there on the field, 9 is going to have to be the guy that's going to be able to take command of everything. And if things go awry, he has to be able to step in. If the defense gives up 7 touchdowns, hey, he got to figure out a way to score 8. Or if he throws 2 picks, the defense has to be able to pick him up as well. So it's all about him establishing himself, getting that confidence, saying, you know what, I'm the guy now. I don't have to worry about anybody peeking over my shoulder. And I need to go out here and perform. And that's exactly, and prove a lot of people wrong, because obviously there are a lot of people who feels like Desmond Ridder isn't going to get the job done. So, but I think that right now with Arthur Smith's scheme and the weapons that he has, I really feel like this is why this is going to hit different for him this year.
Yeah, I am Ridder, and I'm taking the reins. That's what I keep hearing in my head, right?
Yes.
And I think you make a great point about the fact that, yes, we know that the offense is behind him. We know the work, the rapport, the chemistry that he's developed with Drake London and even with his running back core, right? And
Right.
We'll talk about another guy that he's going to establish rapport with in a few minutes on offense. But on defense, I love what they had to say, because 2 guys I thought were very important in coming out and giving support. And I could even throw Calais Campbell in there, but I really want to focus on Grady Jarrett and AJ Terrell, because those are really not just your veterans, but they're your veterans on this Falcon squad, right? So a guy in Grady Jarrett who has seen several quarterbacks, including Matt Ryan, to be able to put his confidence in Desmond Ridder to say that he believes that he can get the job done as QB1. I think that's important, because also when you're going through OTAs, they don't get together too often, but every now and again, you'll see, the ones on the ones. And with what he's seen so far, he's impressed. So if he's looking at, from a defensive front perspective, and he's saying, wow, I think that he can do his reads perfectly. He's prepared for what it is that he's going to see. And even the looks that we're giving him, he's good to go. So I thought that was one area that was important for showing confidence in someone from the front. But also AJ Terrell. AJ Terrell knows what it looks like for quarterbacks to be throwing his way, or, just to be able to see things that are not right at the line of scrimmage, to say, yep, I'm waiting, I'm about to feast because that ball is coming this way and I'm going to pick it off. So for him to be able to talk about Desmond Ridder's vision as well, and for him to be able to talk about seeing the growth and having confidence in his QB1, that's a guy who's looking at QB1s all day, every day, trying to find the disconnect and the miscues that he can take advantage of. So if he sees something in Desmond Ridder as well, I will give that a thumbs up and a lot of confidence too, because we know that he's one of the best in the game. So if he's calling it, I can believe it. And I think that when you have potentially an extra target, we know he has Bijan Robinson, who of course is up at Falcons training camp with the rookies. They started yesterday. We know that's an extra weapon. Mm-hmm. But a little tweet yesterday gave us some confidence that maybe he's getting another one. So Kyle Pitts tweets out, no pup list for me. So what that spells to us is, are we seeing him day one? No pun intended, of course. But yeah, how important would that be? How exciting would it be? And how effective would that make the offense if Kyle Pitts can be out there on opening day?
I think you'll finally get a chance to see what Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot's vision was for this offense, because, like, hey, they drafted 3 pass catchers. I know Bijan Robinson is the running back, but, you know, he's going to be able to walk on water catching the ball out of the backfield too, right? Yes. You know, that's what we've been told. You know, that's what I'm expecting. So when you have, you know, all of those consecutive pass catchers being drafted, like, that means you're looking to have a dynamic offense. That means you're looking to put up 25 to 30 points a game, you know, whether you're on the road or you're at home, because that running game travels, right? You know what I'm saying? And we talked about yesterday how, like, people talk about how it's a passing league. But once you get to the playoffs, all you hear is like, oh, yeah, teams got to be able to run the football. So, you know, I'm thinking that Arthur Smith saying, hey, how about this? I can do it when I can do this in September and October too as well. And it can be successful and it can get me to where I need to be. So I think overall, like, with Kyle Pitts coming in, and if he's ready for game one, like he's intimating, I really feel like Desmond Ridder is going to be a lot more consistent than what he had to deal with Marcus Mariota last year, because we know, like, we don't have to go into what that connection was. It wasn't one. It wasn't one last year between Kyle Pitts and Marcus Mariota. So I think that Desmond Ridder, we know the relationship is able to establish with Drake London, and hopefully that can carry over to Kyle Pitts as well.
Yeah, I believe so, because I can remember times where we would be sitting in the press box and it's like, KP's open, get the ball to KP. And there were times where he was severely underthrown. There were times where he was overthrown. Maybe once or twice you might have said, okay, KP might have run the wrong route there. Right, but ultimately, it always seemed like Marcus Mariota just couldn't find a guy who was wide open, that he couldn't make the connection. And I felt like maybe Kyle Pitts got a little bit of undue vitriol, like, oh yeah, he was the number 4 pick, and look, he's looking like a bust. Well, now let's be honest. Who was throwing to him? He didn't get the 4 games with Desmond Ridder that Drake London and everybody else on that offense got, right? So even a Tyler Algier, he should be looking stronger as a pass catcher, because he got 4 games with Desmond Ridder. Cordero Patterson got 4 games with Desmond Ridder, and anybody else coming back in that whole offense got 4 games with Desmond Ridder. KP did not. So I want to see what a sample size looks like, hopefully in training camp. I hope we get to see something, or at least in preseason. It'd be great even if we could see something between those 2 in preseason. But I do think that, again, they'll be pleasant. Well, I don't know if they'll be pleasantly surprised. I know they're going to be surprised, all the naysayers who are really downing these 3 picks as pass catcher picks the last 3 drafts. But I think when these guys are working together as a unit, even if we don't see it fully in KP in game 1, maybe it's game 2 or 3, once the rust kind of wears off, if you will.
And I wouldn't be shocked if it is game 2 or game 3. That's fine.
Exactly. I wouldn't be either. And that's fine too, because ultimately speaking, as long as you can get ahead of it in the first quarter of the season, I think that bodes well for the Falcons, the backside of the season, when the schedule gets a little bit tougher. But everydayers, what do you guys think? Are you excited about Desmond Ridder coming into camp as QB1 so that the Falcons know exactly who they have and are confident in their guy? What about KP? He says he's not going to be on the pup list. You ready for KP to come back and make some noise? Let us know. Check us out on YouTube. Make sure that you drop something in the comments, and one of us might just check it out. Might just talk about it on the show. And of course, download ATL Day Ones wherever you get your podcasts.
But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about. Because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different. T, we had a nice little conversation about, and gave out a little relationship advice when it comes to Keke Palmer and her boyfriend and all that whole Usher fiasco and all that stuff going on in Las Vegas. So it seems as if we've run across something very similar, I think. We talking about Halle Bailey, who is the new star of Little Mermaid. My wife had taken our daughters. They've gone to see it twice, and so it was an excellent movie. A lot of people, expectations were low for some strange reason. But, hey, she exceeded those, and she's out here getting her shine on. Until, her rapper boyfriend is he got a song called Famous, and up here questioning why you kissing folks in the movie and holding hands at the premiere. Like, my whole thing is with all of this crap, T. Like, I'm getting super frustrated because, like, what's wrong with your girl getting her shine on, T? That's the only question I have when I start reading all this crap.
Right. And in regular relationships, when something goes awry, we say, well, you knew that when you met me. You knew who Halle Bailey was when you met her. She was already a part of Chloe and Halle. She was already a part of, and I forget, Grownish, the spinoff of Blackish. Yeah. So this is somebody who she was basically discovered by Beyonce.
And so can I say this, T? Can I say this real quick? Like, keep it all the way funky. Halle ain't the one you need to be worried about. If you dating Chloe, I might.
Right. Then you might be nervous.
I might be a little nervous. Yeah. But Halle is
this one.
You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
I just think at the end of the day, you knew exactly who she was when you got her, and you knew that her star was on the ascent. So if you can't handle that, I suggest you just walk away. But I really don't need you telling me about it. And it's interesting because people often say, when someone says, oh, God, maybe that guy's intimidated by you. And it's like, yeah, no man's intimidated. Well, clearly some man is, and some men are, because this one is, you have to be intimidated for you to think that you needed to write your feelings out, put it to pen and paper, and then put it, I know it's not wax, but, put it on wax. Like, that's what you thought was okay. Like, we weren't going to analyze, break that down after the debacle with Darius Jackson and Keke Palmer just a week ago. So, you need to kind of read the room. And we're talking about you. Maybe that's what you meant to have happen. Like, well, at least I'm trending. But every trend ain't the right trend.
Like, all right. Okay. So, like let me just kind of like process this right now. So, are we that starved for attention? Like, again, I go back to my original question. What's wrong with your girl getting her shine on? If you all understand, if you even get close to even talking about marriage, you understand that it's all going into one pot. Like, it ain't no you, me. And then, of course, celebrities, that's a little bit different, obviously. You might get a sign a prenup and all that stuff, just make sure everybody keep their stuff, situated. But, while you're married, all that stuff doesn't matter. Like, everybody's bringing something to the table. And DDG, whatever your name is, I promise you, I ain't never heard of you, dog, like, until now. And that what makes me think that this wasn't genuine. You up here trying to get attention. You're being an attention whore out here. Like, what are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? So, like, my whole thing is like, dude, like, understand who you with, and if you want to, and once you understand who you're with, especially if she not here hugged up on a mega superstar, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's different levels to this thing. Like, her being out here promoting the movie that she put all her hard work in to try to doggone make sure she got a nice compensation and make sure it does well to promote that bad boy. Why don't you support her in that?
Yeah.
Fool. Like, this really irks me, T, because I'm like, the relationships and all that stuff between us, like I just don't understand it now.
Yeah.
In today's game, I don't understand it now, and I am so happy that I am in a committed marriage because these folks out here, they tripping.
Yeah. So PSA, if you are like DDG or Darius Jackson, you probably want to miss me. No more DMs, okay? Ain't answering them anymore. But what we will answer, hopefully, or the Braves will have
what that means.
questions tomorrow on what's going on with the Braves. So hopefully we'll have the answers for you as they get back to game 2 with the Diamondbacks tonight with Charlie Morton, who had a scoreless outing his last time around. He's on the mound tonight. That's a good look for the Braves. We'll talk about that. Anything coming out of Flowery Branch as the rookies continue training camp, we'll talk about it, and anything here in the ATL, including the Dream being on a 7-game winning streak. What's up with that? We'll talk all things sports right here in the A if you come back tomorrow.
And last but not least, make sure you share love, show love, stay out them damn DMs, and spread love.